Hi, this is Paul at Kiln again. We are going to talk about 120 volt outlets and how they can be different and what the difference is and what that means to you when you're shopping for a kiln. Smaller kilns usually run on a 120 volt outlet, but it can be just a standard 120 volt household outlet, which is usually connected to a 15 amp circuit breaker, and there could be multiple outlets connected to a single circuit breaker. Or it could be a 120 volt outlet that's connected to a 20 amp circuit. Sometimes those are dedicated circuits, which means that that line is only going to that one plug and not supplying anything else in the house. So that's a dedicated circuit. Some kilns that are 120 volt kilns will require just a standard household outlet, and those are the easiest ones to shop for. But if you get larger and have more volume inside the kiln, there's more space to heat, so it needs more electrical power coming into the kiln to heat that space. Then you might get into a situation where you are needing a 120 volt outlet that's connected to a 20 amp circuit, or you have a kiln that requires a special outlet and has a special plug on it, and that's called a 120 volt 20 amp dedicated circuit. And so we'll give you examples of what those different plugs look like so you can kind of determine what you have. Again, it's always best to consult an electrician when you're trying to determine what your circuit is and how much power is coming into it, so that you don't get into a situation that you order a kiln and get it delivered to your home and then discover that you have no place to plug it into. This is a 120 volt 20 amp dedicated circuit. And if you'll notice, one of the holes is a vertical hole, but the other hole has a vertical and a horizontal slot in it. The 120 volt 20 amp dedicated plug is going to have the grounding pin. It'll have one vertical pin and one horizontal pin. So that's the type of outlet that you're going to need for a 120 volt 20 amp. Okay. So this is a typical 120 volt 15 amp grounded outlet. And what I mean by grounded is that it has this extra hole, which is for the grounding pin. This is what a typical 120 volt 15 amp kiln plugs looks like. And it goes right into that outlet. Now this is a more common 120 volt 15 amp appliance plug, and you notice that it doesn't have that extra grounding pin. You'll never see a plug like this on a kiln. So you want to be sure that your outlet looks like this with the grounding pin hole. So when you're shopping for 120 volt kilns, which will be smaller kilns, make sure that you know what type of outlet that the kiln requires. Look at the product specifications chart, and it will tell you whether it's a NEMA 120 15 amp or 120 20 amp. And that will be indicated by the letters NEMA 5-15P or 5-15R, or for the dedicated circuit 5-20P or 5-20R. The differences between the P and the R is just whether they're talking about the plug or the receptacle.